Okay, today we're going to do a barrel in this episode. First things we need to do is select the cube, press X and D to delete, and let me turn on my screencast keys. Okay, the first things we're going to do is change our unit values from metric to imperial, because I'm working from an American base location. And then we'll create the cylinder, and down here at the bottom left we'll open up this little mini map, and however many vertices we have determines how many faces we have. And so we want an even number, and we want these faces to be slightly bigger than what they are now, because that each one's going to be a board. So I would reduce it to 20. Ought to be good. Yeah, we'll go with 20. The radius can be about 1.6 feet, which makes it about 3.2 feet. Now let's go 1.4. That's a better barrel. And the depth, we want that to be a 4.5 foot barrel. Maybe just a 4 foot barrel. Then over here, we open up the side menu, go to item, location Z, and since our depth is 4, we want to set the Z to half that, so that because half of 4, the origin point is in the middle, and if we want to center this to the floor, we go half. Alright, next thing's next, we tab into edit mode, Control R, create about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 loop cuts. That makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 faces. Okay, let's go 12. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That way in the middle, we can select this middle row by switching to face select mode, selecting a face, and then horizontally selecting the next face near the opposing edge, and that creates a circle. Next, we're going to go up here to proportional editing, and we will go sphere, no, we'll go smooth, and we will go 1.89, and then we will scale by pressing S and then dragging outwards. Maybe take this down a notch to 1.75, and then scaling it after that. That looks a lot better, and we want a cartoony one because stylized art is #1 priority when you're making a video game these days. It will sell the most, it will have the highest user rating, the highest user density, and looks the most pleasing to the eye. So for that, we want kind of wompy, fat, little bulgy objects. So this is good for our barrel. Next, we're going to select each face on the top and the bottom by selecting one, and then the other by holding shift and selecting it, pressing X and then F to delete the faces. Then we are going to select the top face and then control and select the bottom face of one column, and then every other column will do the same. When you switch to the next column at the top, press shift, select the face, and then control, select the bottom face. Shift, control, shift, control, shift, control, shift, control. And we'll just repeat that process, shift and control, shift, control, shift and control. And then we press P and click selection. That separates our selection by selection. So we can tab out of edit mode and select one of these columns and then every other column is selected as one object, as cylinder 001. And we select cylinder 1, which is the opposing set of boards. So what we want to do is select both of them, select one, then shift and select the other, then tab into edit mode, select all, select all by pressing A, and then right click extrude faces along normals and bring them either in or out. Let's bring them out just a little bit, and then we have this cool looking effect here. But what we can do even further is press scale. That won't work. Scale, shift Z. That won't work either. Looks like we're going to have to select each outside face row. We don't really have to do that. They're flush on the inside. Yeah, I would do that anyway. Just select every face row. Outside face row by shift and control, shift and control, shift select, control select, shift select, control select, shift select, control select. Do that for every outside face column, and we are going to create a bevel that will make this look much nicer. And since we're going for a cartoony look, we don't want it to be flat edge, but it would be okay if you did. Once all are selected, tab out of edit mode, go to object, apply, all transforms, then tab back into edit mode and press Control B and drag out just a little bit. And you can scroll wheel up for a number of additional iterations inside the bevel, giving you a smoother, more rounded look. So I went with 2 iterations, 2 segments, and yeah, it's looking good. From here, what we're going to do is select one column and then shift select the other column and press Control J. That will join them together. We'll do this without shading auto smooth. Next step is creating the top and bottom caps. So we'll deselect everything and then press Control A, mesh, cylinder. And since the cylinder is already the same width as what we started with and we extruded outward, this should be the perfect size, and it has the same number of segments. All we have to do is go depth 0.25, and then we G and Z till it becomes flush, and you can either click on X or Y up here on this little I guess compass. We'll go with X, and then that way we have a perfect orthographic view of the side, the X side. We'll raise the bottom part till it's flush, to one edge is flush with the very bottom of the boards. It's actually just a little bit too high, so we can G, Z, and when we're pressing G, we're grabbing, and when pressing Z, we're unifying it to the Z axis, up and down. Then we'll press Control D to duplicate, and then right click to put it back in its original location, and then we will GZ this one up and make it flush. Then what we have, it looks like this. Typically, if you think about manufacturing, the caps will probably be a piece of circle of a tree, just So when you go to make the topography, you'll want those lines in it, those circles that go out from the middle. And next we're going to duplicate another one of these, right click, and then scale, Shift Z to lock it to the X and Y axis minus the Z axis, meaning it's not going to scale on the Z axis. And we scale it out just slightly larger. And then we Shift D, right click, G, Z, raise up, and then we make it to where it's just on top of the last one we made, and then pan to the Z view where you're on top, not Z bottom but Z positive, and then we will scale this one down until we just barely don't see the boards anymore. What that's going to do is create a smaller one. Then we'll press S and Z to scale it specifically on the Z axis just a little bit. Then we'll click on that first one, the first additional one we made, and come over here and add a modifier. Generate Boolean, and the Boolean object that is going to cut the hole in this object is the secondary one that we made that we shrunk down some and stretch on the Z axis. To do that, we just click on this little eyedropper and then select the last cylinder we made. Then we take that cylinder and drag it into the one with the modifier so that it's poking out on the top and bottom, basically cutting it all the way through. When we come up here and hide the cylinder 4, cylinder 003 shows a ring that goes all the way around all those boards. So when we go back to 3, we apply the modifier, then we can reuse cylinder 4 at the bottom. But basically all you really have to do is just Control D the cylinder 3, go into the side view again, and then G and Z, grab it to the bottom, and then we can hide or delete cylinder 4, and we want just a little bit of the wood poking out, so that right there is perfect. And then we can make another one of these and just scale it up for the middle. So Shift D, G, Z, and we'll go to the side view and try to line that up as center as we can get it. I'd say since it's a 4-foot barrel, we'll go 2 feet in the air, and then scale on Shift Z, everything with the Z axis, and that looks about right. Yeah, I like that. That's nice. So we'll click on the rings by shift clicking all 3 of them, then right clicking and shade auto smooth. That has a stationary angle of 30 degrees, so anything 30 degrees or less will have a smooth modifier to where it looks almost perfectly round when you go around it. And then we will apply that modifier, and that's it. You're basically done with your barrel. Now if you wanted to, you can move this one up some and shift D, right click, G, Z, move this down. So 1.4 and 2.6, this probably ought to be 1.3. And then we shrink these two by S, Shift Z, then bringing them down. And that's a secondary look. So what we can do is press Shift A, Shift, select the camera to deselect it, Shift, select the light. Well, you just select all the cylinders up here. Cylinder control. Okay, now we got all the cylinders selected. And then we can Control or Shift D, right click, and then G and X. Move this over. And to have a second kind that we might have, we can delete one of the rings and then GZ this up to 2, and that puts it dead center. Now we have two versions of barrels, and of course you can select this one, Shift D, right click, GY, move it over, and then we can scale this whole thing down, and then look at its Z value, or we'll control, we can control, well, I mean, you don't really have to get it perfect to the ground, but try to get it perfect to the ground. There's always the X value kind of thing, X view, and then maybe a small one of this too. Control or Shift D, right click, G, Y, G, Y, and then scale it down to GZ, S, making it just slightly bigger. And then GX, GY. Now we've got a large barrel, large 1, small 1, large 2, small 2. And when we're doing an object, if you were to create each individual object on the specific creation that you're making, say this barrel right here, we have the cap, the rings, the bottom cap, and the sets of boards that make up the side walls of the barrel. You can select all of those things, well, making sure you select only the selected objects of one object, the selected pieces of one object, and then Control J them. And when you do that, sometimes a modifier will apply from a previous object. So what happened is it applied the smooth modifier. Maybe don't smooth anything out until the very end and just keep it all pieced as one piece, because you can select multiple objects and group them together and export them as one object, one file that imports as one object in the scene. But if you combine the different pieces into one object, you are thereby essentially creating a simpler, more slick layout. So I'm going to Control J, well, I didn't actually select these. Control J, okay, Control J, Control J. Okay, now in order for us to properly unwrap, this is the next part, topography. In topography, we have something called the UV editing workspace. And so for the first cylinder, let's select the first cylinder and make our viewport bigger. We'll go to object mode. We've selected the cylinder, then we go to edit mode. And you see how we have all these lines? Basically, what we have to do, first things first, I don't know what I just did there. Okay, once we're in edge select mode and we've selected all the edges of a given object, we can right click and clear sharps, because it automatically made some sharps when we set the auto smooth modifier to one of the rings. So one of the rings had some sharps. Basically what we want to do here is select all, right click, clear sharps, right click, clear seams in case any were created. And then we will just go to UV, Smart UV Project. Most times, 9 times out of 10, this works. 0.01 for my island margin, and press enter. And if you look here, this is all the pieces of the barrel unwrapped. This is very useful, and you have to have it if you're going to put skin or texturing on your object. So once we have that done, we can tab at edit mode with this object selected, and since it's been unwrapped, we can go to File, Export, FBX, Selected Objects, Mesh, scroll down to Transform. We want X forward, Z up, apply transformation, and we go to Geometry. And this is very important because the program we're going to bring this object into in order to texture it has to read a specific way, and if you don't select edge smoothing, it doesn't work sometimes. Most of the time it will just do something of its own accord and ignore what you did in Blender. So then we go down to armature. Since this is a static object, it does not have any bones for animation, and we don't need any animation. We will title this barrel to B for big, barrel to B, export FBX, save our file, barrels. Before we do that, I missed one step here. What we have to do is go back into our layout, tab into edit mode with the object selected, and then select off the object, and then hold the mouse over what part of the object we want to select. We select all the rings because they're all going to have the same texture. So when we mouse over it and press L, it selects the linked object. It links those objects together. Then we will open up a side menu in the layout panel. At the top, we will create image editor by selecting this little box here. You go to new, we'll call this ID map B2 rings, and 1024 is fine because this is an ID map, it's not the actual texture, and we want black with alpha selected. Select new image. Then with those rings selected, we will go to texture paint mode, and first we have to go to shading, and in shading, well, in the layout, we want to go back to object mode and give this a texture by selecting the material tab. We want to be in object mode, select the object, go to materials tab, new, name it material 1. Then we go to shading, and with material 1 selected, we come over here to the base color, click off of it, this node, and drag out and click image texture. Then we will come over here to this little picture icon and select the ID map B2 rings. This is needed in order to apply a color to a specific part of the object called an ID map. So in the layout, we've created this black mask called ID map B2 rings, went to shading, selected the material of the object we have selected, and then drug out to an image texture, and then clicked on the image icon and found the ID map B2 rings. Now we go back to layout and we go to edit mode with the rings selected by mousing over them and pressing L one at a time with nothing selected at first, and then selecting the rings individually. We go out of edit mode, back into texture paint mode, and then click on this little fill tool and change the color to, we'll say blue. Blue I usually use for metal. And then we click this little box up here and it says paint mask. What we did when we select this will mask editable. It'll create an editable mask on anything you had selected. So we selected those rings, and now we have the fill tool selected, so all we have to do is click it one time and that makes it blue. Now it takes a copy of the unwrap that you did, the UV, and it makes a blue ring. It makes blue paint where all the ring pieces were, inside and out. So now that we have that done, we can go to File, Save, and then come up here, go to Image, Save. Well, Image Save As, so we know where we're saving it to. I'll just save it to Blender Saves, ID Map B2 Rings, Painter, and we have the object selected. Barrel B2, 2048 DirectX, compute tangent space, and unchecked auto unwrap. We click OK. Takes a second, but the object comes in. We mouse out, we look at it, looks good. So we delete this layer up here. Your layout might look a little different, but then you want to go to texture set settings, click on mesh maps, and go to bake mesh. We will uncheck the second and third option, and then the third and second from last we check on, and then we bake. Give it a second, it won't take long. Return to paint mode. Then we have to import the resource of the ID map that we made as a texture. We're going to import it as a texture. Saves. There it is, ID map B2 ring. We open that. Then where it says undefined, we change it to texture. And you can import it for the project, the current session, or the library assets. I just usually do the project and press import. Then over here in our texture settings, underneath the mesh maps, we select the ID map, and there's the ID map that we made. Now what we want to do is come over here to our assets and select a smart material. Iron forged is a good one. I'll drag that up here, and then we want a wood material. Wood chip is a good one. So where we have iron forged old, we just right click on it, add a black mask, right click again on the mask square. It's a square with a circle in it. Go to add mask with color selection, and then we come over here to the properties color selection and we pick color, and it opens up the ID map that we have selected, and then you select the very tip of the dropper on the blue. For some reason it didn't do it. Let's try that again. Okay, that's because we have this underneath of it. Let's go, well, maybe we remove mask. No, we just right click it, add mask with color selection, pick the blue, and bam. We have a full-blown, fully finished, and polished barrel. Topography. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Substance 3D Painter is a wonderful automatic procedural texturing tool. So what we do here is we go File, Export Textures, and this is the tricky part. Go to Output Templates, find Unreal Engine SS or Unreal Engine packed. Right click on it, duplicate it. Click on the double click on the duplicated and change it to MRA basic. And then we delete the emissive, the bottom one here, and at the top we clear the R, the G, and the B channel of the metallic, and we change it from occlusion roughness metallic by selecting occlusion roughness metallic and changing it to MRA, then pressing enter. The red channel is going to be our metallic, and from the input map we select the metallic and drag it up into the red channel. We select gray, then the green is going to be the roughness. We select the roughness from the input maps, gray channel, and then the blue channel is going to be the mesh maps, ambient occlusion, gray channel. Once you have that set up, you should have something that says save settings or whatever, and then we will select our output template to be the MRA that we had made. Make sure it says PNG 8 bits, and then at the top where it says output directory, you want to change the output directory to a directory you know where you're putting your objects at. So I'm going to go up here to Substance Painter, or we'll just make a new folder in the E drive called Textures. And then in the Textures folder, I'll create a new one called B2 Barrel. And then in the B2 Barrel, I'll select the folder and then export. It exports a base color, a material roughness ambient occlusion, and a normal, all 8-bit. Then we cancel, file, save the project, B2 Barrel, save, and then we can close out of the project and go back into Blender, and under object mode we can go back into the shading where it says base color. We just click on this load icon, go to Textures, our folder that we made, B2 Barrel, and click base color, open image. Then you will see the base color, but it looks a little off, so what we're missing is the normal. We just click off the normal, make a normal node, so it converts the data of the image texture, into normal data. And then we're going to go to E, Textures, B2 Barrel, normal. And we change the metallic to about 0.5, the IOR to 1, and the roughness up to 1. You can change metallic up to 1, but I find it doesn't look anywhere near as good in Blender as keeping it at a metallic at 0.5. And then that's basically it. And then you will have all your objects in Blender ready to rock. But if you really want to do something, we will have to import them into your game engine of choice. So my favorite one is Unreal Engine. And once you have that done, you will put your base color texture in there whenever you or change the material, this right here, that is your MRA. I know it looks a little bit broke, but that's metallic roughness and ambient occlusion values. So respectively, it's very important. This is the smoothness and the texturization, and this is the coloring, which is the most fun part. I will show you what that looks like in just a minute. Let me load up. First things first, we want to import into our content folder. Go to our content folder, click import, and this is Unreal Engine 5.5 or 5.4 or 5.5. It's one of the two. Let me check. Yeah, 5.5. So we go to our content folder, click import, and then go into our Blender exports and import the barrel 2B. Basically keep everything the same. It might increase your file size, but if you go to these settings and like import skeletal mesh, I don't need to import a skeletal mesh. Import animations, there are none. Import materials, there are none. Import textures, there are none. Maybe we want materials, I'm sorry. We don't want textures. Import static meshes. Use name for asset. Import. And we drag this into our scene. And then over here, well, we will right click, create material, name the material barrel to be material underscore material, double click it, it brings up this map, and then we'll open up the content drawer, and in materials, no, we don't want that, we don't want that, level prototyping, textures, right click, or we'll just click import, then go to the textures folder, B2B barrel, select all three, click open, that imports them, and then we can select all of them and drag them in here. Then we'll take the base color, then the normal, then our MRA. And the base color, we just drag the RGB value into the base color. Then the normal, we drag the RGB into the normal. And then for the third one, which is our MRA, we want the red channel to go to metallic, green channel to go to roughness, and blue channel to go to ambient occlusion. We hit apply. Save, exit this, then drag this over into our materials tab of the selected object, and there you have it. A well polished, ready-made asset. And if you wanted, you could just make assets to sell on the market. You know, the sky's the limit, and it only goes as far as your imagination pushes yourself to go. I'd say the material is spot on. It couldn't get any better. It's very artistic, realistic, and cartoony at the same time. I like it. There are other ways to change the looks of this in Substance Painter, but for now this will work. And you can just Control D to duplicate, Control D, and then we can rotate this object and move it up. create ourselves a little scene of objects. That looks about right. And that's the basics of Blender to Unreal. I know that Substance Painter is a paid tool, and you can do this without it in Blender by exporting the maps separately and using a program like GIMP, G-I-M-P, which is a painting program that you can then edit the base color into a blue channel and then change it to an RGB channel to make your own MRAs and normals. But I don't recommend that because the speed and efficiency of your workflow is important, and using Substance Painter will greatly increase your productivity and your performance rating. You can do so many things, infinite number of things with Substance Painter, like adding edge wear and dirt wear and scratches and edge marks and different shades and different lightnesses and darknesses of materials, and you can create any kind of wood, any kind of metal, any kind of thing you can imagine. You can create a material for, so long as you just do it in layers and create masks and things of that nature. But it will look exponentially better if you use Substance Painter when you bring it into Unreal Engine. But I mean, that took us what, like, I'm not even sure how long. A short, brief period of time. 40 minutes, tops, I think, from start to finish. We made these three barrels and put them into Unreal Engine. You're a pro now at this level, you know. So if you like this, please like the video itself and subscribe to my channel for more content. Thank you for watching.